Can you do a Roth conversion and a Roth contribution in the same year? What about the income limits? Break down a real financial planning scenario. That and more coming up. My name is Mike Bernard. I'm the host of the Wise Money Show. I'm also one of the certified financial planners right here at Korhorn Financial Group. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and smash that thumbs up button. All right, there's two ways to get money into a Roth IRA. And why is that so important? Because dollars in the Roth, even though that when you get money in, that's after tax money. So you've already paid tax on it. There's no tax benefit of putting dollars in the Roth. Once it's there, all the activity is sheltered from tax. So capital gains, dividends, those sorts of things, all sheltered, don't land on your tax return. And all the growth, as long as you meet the criteria, you've had a Roth IRA for 5 years, you're age 59 and a half, the growth comes out tax-free. So if you're in a low tax bracket today and believe you'll be in a higher tax bracket out there in the future, or you're young, or a few other scenarios, oh my goodness, it's almost like the name of the game is how can I get as much money into the Roth as possible when I'm in those circumstances. So there's two ways to get money into the Roth. You can contribute to the Roth IRA as long as you have enough earned income, but not too much overall income, okay? Or you can do a Roth conversion, and that is transferring money from your IRA or from pre-tax dollars into the Roth. Now that transfer is allowed, but it is taxable. And so you've got to be aware of that. I've done lots of videos on all the intricacies of these rules. So we're not going to hit all of those right now, but just know that in order to contribute to the Roth IRA, you've got to have income. Those contribution limits, you can do $6,500 this year with a $1,000 catch-up. If you're age 50 or older, that's going to increase $500 in 2024. So therefore, you can contribute up to 100% of your earnings, okay, or $6,500 or $7,500, whichever is lower. But if your income is too high, if your total income, not just your wages, but your adjusted gross income, if it's too high, then you're limited on being able to do a Roth IRA contribution, and you might be phased out completely. For 2023, married filing jointly, that phase out is if your adjusted gross income, so your income minus deductions, but not the standard deduction. Kind of confusing there. If it's above $218,000, you start getting phased out. If it's above $228,000, you can't make a Roth contribution at all. That's increasing to $230,000 married filing jointly for 2024. So you got to have enough income, but you can't have too much income to contribute. For a Roth conversion, there's no limit. There used to be, there isn't anymore. You can contribute a little, you can convert a little, you can convert a lot. The issue is it's taxable. So how are you going to come up with the tax payment? If you withhold, you can withhold on that Roth conversion. So if you do a $20,000 Roth conversion, but you withhold $4,000 for taxes, well, that's treated as a $4,000 withdrawal from your IRA. And if you're not 59 and a half, that could be penalized as well. So all right. So those are the two ways to get money into a Roth. Here's the real life scenario. Just dealt with this recently. So early in retirement, semi-retired, okay? So late 50s in a very low tax bracket, living off of dividends and some other withdrawals from their investments, but not a ton of taxable income because living off of savings as well as the interest and so on. So for a season, before Social Security, before big IRA withdrawals and whatnot to supplement cash flow, their tax bracket looks very low. However, there's some part-time work and income's around 20 grand. And so enough income to contribute to a Roth IRA and certainly well below that limit where you make too much money. So there's a scenario. Name of the game then is, with that scenario in mind, how do we get as much money into the Roth as possible? How do we pay the most tax at the lowest brackets and have as much money then growing tax-free in the future as possible? Well, objective number one is you qualify to make that Roth IRA contribution, maximize that thing. In this scenario, earnings of around 20 grand, adjusted gross income below those thresholds, each should be contributing the maximum amount. So if you're over age 50, that's in this scenario, contributing $7,500 to both his and her Roth IRAs because you've got enough income to do it. And like I said in the scenario, they've got resources, savings and whatnot that are non-IRA that they're living off of. So grab $7,500 or $15,000 total and contribute to each of their Roth IRAs. That's objective number one. It is maximize your Roth IRA contribution. But here's where it gets interesting, okay? Objective number two, again, towards this goal of getting as much money as possible into the Roth and paying as much tax as possible at low rates, we had laid out, the plan was, and projected out through multi-year tax projections that when all of your non-IRA dollars are used up, and you're on Social Security and drawing out of your IRA, you're going to be in the 24% tax bracket. Therefore, along the way, before you get there, let's do Roth conversions as much as possible to fill up the 10%, to fill up the 12%, fill up the 22%, and maybe, if it makes sense, when it makes sense, even get a little bit into the 24% tax bracket so that while you're young, you can shift as much of this money as possible to grow tax-free for your financial future. That will improve your tax picture, and we've modeled it out. That will improve your tax picture out there in the future. So, with that in mind, a Roth conversion of, somewhere into the six figures makes a lot of sense in that it would fill up the 10%, fill up the 12%, fill up the 22%, and in this scenario, we were looking at getting their adjusted gross income up to around $240,000, something like that. We don't need to worry about IRMA yet, income-related monthly adjustment amount, because there is not on Medicare. We do need to be aware of the additional Medicare tax and net investment income tax. Therefore, it makes sense to keep that adjusted gross income below the $250,000 level. But here's the thing. If we get their adjusted gross income above $218,000, well, that starts infringing on their ability to contribute to the Roth, right? Well, take a look here. The actual, when you break down the details, and so many IRS rules are like this, when you actually look at the criterion, if there is a phase out where if you make too much money, you can't do this, it's not adjusted gross income per se, it's modified adjusted gross income. So it's not the exact number that you see as adjusted gross income on your tax return. It's a modification. It's an alteration of that. And in this, you can actually see the calculation. The very first thing that it tells you, take your adjusted gross income and then subtract any Roth conversion that you did. Therefore, into the weeds of the tax code, the Roth conversion dollars don't count towards your total income threshold when determining whether you make too much money to contribute to a Roth IRA. Therefore, should this strategy make sense, and we're working through it with the client, should this strategy make sense where we should do this big Roth conversion and make a contribution to max the Roth IRAs, we could do so because of this calculation of modified adjusted gross income. So, long-winded answer, but the short answer is, can you do a Roth conversion and a Roth contribution in the same year? Absolutely you can. Be aware of the earnings threshold. You have to earn enough, okay? And you've got to be aware of the income limit, but a Roth conversion will be backed out of that Roth IRA, too much income, modified adjusted gross income eligibility. Confusing topic, fascinating financial planning and tax planning strategy. Work with your certified financial planner. Does it make sense for you to be doing both? Consider funding both a contribution to your Roth IRA and doing Roth conversions. May not make sense right now, or maybe it does. It might make sense next year because of expanded tax brackets or your tax picture changing. Work with your certified financial planner on that. If you don't have a CFP on your team, you can contact one on my team. Find us online, Korhorn.com. That's Korhorn with a K, wisemoneyshow.com. You can find us there as well. Or give us a call, 574-247-5898. All right, there you have it. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.